morning, or I guess it's afternoon. Welcome to Sports Burst Friday edition. Jeremy St. Louis alongside the George Douglas Metellus. Douglas, am I right?
No.
One of these days. I'm going to get it. Happy to have you guys along, looking for your comments and questions as we navigate our way through another busy day in terms of football news. Yeah. We're going to get to that, starting with Real Madrid's crisis. We'll also talk about games coming up this weekend. A big game for Real Madrid just because Real Madrid. Barcelona also have a chance to expand their lead at the top, though Atletico Madrid will be looking to close the gap just before Barcelona play. We'll talk about those two games, and we want to hear from you. You know what? My Netflix queue is empty, so I want to know what I should be watching. What are you guys watching after the football's over? We'll get your thoughts. Sports Burst starts now. No, I'm not looking for your ideas. I'm looking for their ideas. I don't care what's in your Netflix queue.
Oh, the people out there have some good ideas. I'm sure.
All right, let's start with Real Madrid, who are in crisis. Yesterday afternoon, sitting here in the beIN Sports offices, minding my own business, and I have people coming up to me saying that we may have to do a special edition of Sports Burst because the hierarchy of Real Madrid was meeting and possibly looking to sack Santiago Solari. Gonna have Santiago go. Or send Solari on safari, as it were, as they are looking to replace him at Real Madrid. They could not agree. Apparently, the board could not agree on a replacement for Solari, so he remains in place. But Ramon Calderon telling beIN Sports this morning on Keys and Gray that there is a 90% chance that Jose Mourinho will be at Real Madrid by the end of next week. Ooh. George, what do you make of this? Should they just give... I mean, the season's over for Real Madrid.
Yeah, they're not going to win any trophies.
Why get rid of Solari now? Why not just leave him in place and then wait for the summer?
Because someone has to be the scapegoat. That's why. And Solari is the scapegoat, even though he doesn't deserve to be fired. Florentino Perez should take himself out of the position for what he's done. He really should probably... He himself should resign. But we know that's not going to happen.
Right.
So Solari is going to be the scapegoat. Look, if they do bring in Mourinho with this squad, with this roster, it's not a bad move. When you consider how he plays and the kind of football that he wants to play, it's a more defensive, conservative game. And now with Vinicius injured, he might be able to salvage this season in terms of getting them in the Champions League and having them finish on the podium. So I don't think Solari deserves to go, but Jose Mourinho, if they do bring him on with the way he plays, he might be able to salvage some points and salvage a little bit of dignity from the season for Real Madrid.
Some of the comments coming in here, Real Madrid will win at the weekend, but their season is over, says Alex. Yeah. That's a good shout. And from Peter, Zidane comes back in June. Peter, they did contact Zidane, and he said, No, and I honestly can't see Zidane coming back. He knows that this team is an absolute mess.
Oh, yeah.
And how much of this, though, with Solari, this is the thought that came into my head yesterday. How much of this with Solari is about deflecting the blame and shifting the narrative from Florentino Perez to a new coach? Because there's a lot of pressure, a lot of heat on Perez right now, especially with what happened with Ramos, telling him, hey, pay me and I'm out because this place is a mess and it's your fault. How much of this is about Perez maybe trying to redirect the conversation away from him?
100% of it is Perez trying to deflect the blame on someone else. Because he messed up by letting Zidane and Cristiano Ronaldo go, not doing enough to keep them happy so that they want to stay. Then he brought in a goalkeeper when he didn't need to.
Yeah.
He put the number 7 on Mariano, who's he hasn't scored 7 goals since he's returned to Real Madrid, I don't think.
Yeah.
He's made a ton of mistakes in terms of personnel moves, and he wants to blame the coach. So he's putting it on Solari, so he deflects all of that attention off of himself. Real Madrid fans should not be upset at Solari or even Lopetegui. They need to be upset at Florentino Perez and the club directors of Real Madrid. That's the way I look at it.
Alex here says, George, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. Mourinho would be a disaster.
I'm not saying that Mourinho is going to be there for 5 years, but what I'm saying is for this squad, the way it's currently set up, he can get 3 points out of this squad with his style of play. So I'm sorry, I disagree with you, man. You're wrong. I'm not saying he's going to be there to win the Champions League, but to end the season and to get them solidly into 3rd place, he'll do that.
And Render says, Jose might make things worse because players need to go through another adjustment to a new coach. Daniel says the new coach needs to know the players' commitment before starting next season. It's better to bring in a new coach right now. That's actually a good point because you need to know what that is. Yeah. Mike says because they're not a disaster under Solari. And Zidane only goes to 2 teams, either Juve or the France national team. Interesting take there, Jesse. Very interesting take. Real Madrid this weekend facing Valladolid away. That game is coming up on Sunday on beIN Sports. Must-win game for Real Madrid?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. If they lose to Valladolid...
Can you imagine?
Imagine that. And Valladolid, I believe, is recently promoted, so it's not like a team that's been in First Division for 30 years challenging for Europa League.
Yeah.
If they lose to Valladolid, man, they might as well not even play any games for the rest of the season. Forget it.
Steve here says the only thing that can save Perez is spending big time this summer. And Basel, I hope I said that right. I agree with you. It's all management flaws.
Always,
so the Real Madrid situation is one of those things that will stay in flux. Hey, we're looking forward to it staying that way for the rest of the season because it gives us something really juicy to talk about.
Definitely.
Speaking of things to talk about, forgot to mention this off the top. Want to get to it now. Happy International Women's Day.
Big up all the ladies out there.
You know what? Here at beIN Sports, we are. I mean, some of the best women in football work at beIN Sports.
Absolutely.
Not only behind the scenes here at Sports Burst, we have Andrea and Eliana who are here every day with us, putting up with our stuff.
Yeah.
But great women here that work. I mean, Kay Murray.
Yep.
We have Ana Cobos on the Spanish side. Carmen Boquin. Terry Lee, Gabby Amato, who's on a Gabby hasn't commented yet. She's
Gabatassarai,
probably in a hammock somewhere, enjoying the beautiful weather.
Absolutely, she deserves a well-deserved vacation. Yeah.
U.S. Soccer got a special treat on International Women's Day today, with 28 U.S. Women's National Team players filing a class action lawsuit against U.S. Soccer, claiming institutionalized gender discrimination. And it was a case that goes back to they filed a complaint with the Employment Equity Commission back in 2016, but because there was literally nothing, no answer and no resolution, the women decided to take it to the federal court, and so that's what they've done now. That basically ends their EEOC complaint, but they're asking members of the U.S. Women's National Team dating back to February of 2015, I believe it is, to come forward and join the lawsuit, which could be dozens of players, and it could cost U.S. Soccer millions of dollars. Equal pay is, of course, something that you've heard a lot about when it comes to the U.S. Women's National Team in comparison to the men's team. And when you look at the financial structure, George, the way that it is structured, there is a case here
strong case
that the women do need to be paid more.
Yeah, and it is really disrespectful to the women. When you look at the financial structure and what they get paid compared to the men, how they're treated compared to the men, it's sexist and it's disrespectful to the women. And if you were to just get a blind resume, if you didn't know if you put the accomplishments of the women's team on one side, the accomplishments on the men's team on the other side, and you didn't know which one was which, you would pick the women's side every single time.
Yeah.
They deserve, if you really look at just straight merit, they deserve more money than the men.
Yeah.
They deserve more than the men, and it's disrespectful to the women. I hope they win this class action lawsuit and U.S. Soccer pays them what they deserve. One
of the things that the women did put forward in terms of the equity claim was they said, you know what, hey, let's do a revenue sharing thing. Let's do a revenue sharing thing. We'll take that risk, and let's do the revenue share. Because when the women's team, they're saying when we don't do well, then we'll share the brunt of that risk with U.S. Soccer versus having to cover it. You know, because U.S. Soccer says the men are the one that make all the revenue, but actually in the last few years, the women's team has actually out-revenued the men's team in that regard. But the women are paid, the way that they're paid is they're paid a base salary. Then
depending on if they win or lose, that's when they get the bonus. Only if they win.
Only if they win. If they draw or lose, they do not get a game-per-game bonus. The men are a pay when you play type thing.
Right.
So they get paid when they get called into camp. They also do get game bonuses, but the men have a professional league that most of them will fall back on in terms of their salaries. That's not necessarily the case with the women's team, although women who do play in the NWSL do have their salary partly covered by U.S. Soccer.
Yeah. Men should have to win to get paid too. Maybe they play better.
Yeah.
That might be part of it. In 76 games, the men have a record of 44, 18, and 14. In 110 games, the women have a record over the same time span. Same time span.
So they're playing
the women
more.
played 110 games. The men played 76. And the women's record was 88, 6, and 16. And they are the defending Women's World Cup champions.
And they've won the World Cup 3 times.
Yeah.
The men haven't even gone to the final once.
Yeah.
I mean, it is like I said, it's disrespectful to women that they're not getting paid what the men are getting paid. And if you look at just the merits, which we're supposed to be a meritocracy in America, which we all know that's bullcrap. Okay, I'm a black man, I know that for sure.
Yes.
Okay. They should be getting paid more than the men based on what they've accomplished. Look, the most vivid U.S. soccer memory I have is not of any men's game. It's the 99 Women's World Cup final when Christine Lilly heads that ball off the line and then Brandy Chastain scores the penalty kick to win it in the Rose Bowl in front of what? It seemed like 200,000 people in that stadium. So the fact that, and it's not, this is, you talk about 2015, that's 1999.
Yeah.
So 99, they probably weren't even getting paid as much as the men.
Oh,
as well.
gosh, no.
So this is going on for decades, and it really is disrespectful to the U.S. women's national team.
One of the things that stands out, Andy Das, who writes for the New York Times, is a guy who's a great follow in terms of information about U.S. soccer and soccer in general.
Yeah.
And he wrote an article 2 years ago about the pay discrepancy between, and it's not as black and white as maybe what we're making it sound like, but the article is very interesting and it talks a lot about how complicated the situation is. And in terms of some of the comparisons, this is one comparison that stood out. The 50th best player on the men's pool, okay, in the men's pool made $246,000. By comparison, a woman on that same list, the 50th best women's player, got paid $25,000. That's a discrepancy of over $200,000, and the women have to win in order to get the bonuses, and the men just basically have to show up.
And then anybody who puts in the comments there, oh, that the men generate more money. You just said it. The women have
generated more
way
revenue
more money
in the last few years
than the men. Yeah. So you can't even make that argument anymore.
And they will likely do so this year.
Yeah, and they likely absolutely, especially Women's World Cup coming up in France in a few months' time. So it's really disrespectful. I hope that they win the class action lawsuit and get what they deserve.
There's some great comments coming in. A lot of people agree that, you know what, it's time for more equality when it comes to. One guy says here, listen, we should pay our real national team
more than the men's. Yeah.
So
they are a bigger source of pride when you consider what they've done. They are a bigger source of pride.
But seriously, guys, read up on it because it is something you're going to be hearing a lot about in the coming months now that it is a class action lawsuit. Okay, let's move on to the games this weekend. Barcelona facing Rayo Vallecano is one of the headline games. Before that game, though, Atletico Madrid are taking on Leganés. Leganés, who moved up to mid-table earlier this week. Atletico can reduce the gap to 4 points with Barcelona. Do you think they're feeling any pressure, Atletico, because of the fact they play first?
Well, they might feel a little bit of pressure, but I think the big thing for Atletico is how are they going to manage the squad with that second leg in Italy against Juve. They have the 2-0 advantage, which is important. They drew Leganés earlier this year 1-1, so that might, but that was at Butarque, so that's, Wanda Metropolitano, different story.
Yeah.
The big thing or good thing for Atleti, Morata is scoring goals. He scored 2 last week against Sociedad. I think he has 3 in the last 2 games, including that brace. So he seems to be rounding into form. They need him and Griezmann to be. They might have to play the whole 90 minutes because I think Kalinic and Costa are out for this game. So that how they manage the squad, how they play that game, and kind of do what they can to preserve their legs as much as possible ahead of the Juve game is going to be important.
They're Leganés.
They're Leganés.
Nice,
good job, Mike. Thanks.
Nice, Mike. But you know what though?
There is some pressure on them, yeah.
I wonder how much though it changes the mindset of Simeone after seeing PSG squander a 2-0 lead this week to Manchester United. Granted, completely different team, completely different situation. There's a psychological aspect to what happened with PSG. But if you're Diego Simeone, do you maybe look at that and go, oh, okay, maybe you take a different approach?
Maybe. No, here's why. Because Cholo Simeone is not for lack of a better, he's not soft.
No, and neither are Atletico.
No, Atletico is not soft.
You're saying PSG is soft, George?
A little bit. They might be. They might be.
They're a finesse team.
A finesse team.
That's a good point. That's a good point. A finesse team.
A finesse team. Okay, well, that's a soft way of putting it. Yeah, but there you go. But Atleti is not going to, with Cholo Simeone, he's going to have them focus. He's going to have them playing their style and be strong mentally. They still might lose a Juve, but they're not going to collapse like that. So we'll see what happens. But I think they should be able to take down. Don't be surprised if it's a 1-0 for Atleti over Leganés.
Barcelona versus Rayo Vallecano. Rayo sitting 19th in the league table. This strikes me as a banana skin game.
You think so?
For Barcelona, considering what they have coming up.
Yeah, they have that matchup against Lyon.
Yes,
which
that's
was 0-0.
Yeah. And that's goalless. Yeah. So there has to be a little bit of concern there. If you're Valverde, how are you preparing your team for Rayo? When you look at it on paper, you're thinking, okay, great, we can roll out the kids here and roll over Rayo Vallecano, probably no problem. But it strikes me as a game where it could be one of those banana skins.
They have a big lead in La Liga, right? Or a comfortable lead over Atleti in La Liga. I think personally, you bench Messi and you bench Suarez. Okay. You don't play them because the second leg is in Camp Nou. So they're going to get an extra energy boost from that, just from the home crowd. But then you give them the rest. Maybe you bring them on in the last 15, 20 minutes if it's a 0-0 game to secure the 3 points. But if I'm Valverde, I know Coutinho, I know Barcelona fans, you don't want me to say Coutinho, but you might have to play him there in the 90 minutes, him and Dembele, and then you rest Messi and Suarez. Preferably you rest Messi for the second half.
Peter agrees with you. He says, save the key players against Real. Barca need to beat Lyon, do or die.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, can't disagree with that. In the Premier League this weekend,
oh boy,
Georgie, Arsenal, Man United.
Do we have to talk about this? We have to?
Let's go. 1 point separating the two teams. It is at the Emirates, which is a good sign for Arsenal. But are Manchester United the hottest team in Europe right now?
Ooh, man, that's probably supreme confidence after what happened against PSG.
Wow,
probably, yeah. I mean, Arsenal, as an Arsenal fan, I am very worried about this game.
Okay.
Because I looked this up. Against the top 4 teams, I don't count Chelsea. Forget Chelsea. Okay. Manchester United, City, Tottenham, and Liverpool. You know what their record is? Arsenal's record. My beloved Arsenal's record against those teams.
Is it an over?
No, it's 1 win, 5 losses, and 3 draws.
A one-for.
A one-for, yes. I mean, and I think they split against Chelsea this year in the Premier League. So I'm not. I mean, Arsenal. I'm kind of. It's like the Dolphins. Like when they play, you want them to win, but you're not expecting it.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking. The way United, the confidence is, and you mentioned yesterday when we did Sports Burst, all the injuries that United had, and they still won.
Yes.
It could be the same thing there. I'm worried as an Arsenal fan. I'm real worried.
Southampton and Tottenham play on Saturday. Tottenham could go 6 points up on United, and Arsenal can jump over United in the table with a win. So, I mean, it's a big game for both of these teams, because if Tottenham slip up against Southampton, which is the distinct possibility, that could push United further closer to 3rd place in the table.
Yeah, that post-Dortmund hangover for Tottenham.
Yes.
So we'll see. Yeah.
Some comments here. Man U going to crash Arsenal. Man U will win. Rick saying winning with luck is confidence. Man U will fall.
Please let that happen.
Another Arsenal fan.
I know.
Yeah, another Arsenal fan.
I love that dude.
Also just want to mention that on Friday the Premier League announced that they are investigating Manchester City for violations of FFP. This goes directly back to what happened to Chelsea a couple weeks back when they got dinged in a transfer ban because of recruitment of young players. The same thing is going on apparently at Manchester City. The Premier League and UEFA are looking into it. The BBC has actually said that they have record of a payment to Jadon Sancho's agent of $260,000 US, £200,000 back when he was 14 years old.
Jeez, that's a lot
That's
of
an
money.
illegal payment, and so you could see City having some struggles. They could be banned as well, though Pep Guardiola has said it's not going to affect his legacy and what he's trying to build.
I need to be an agent, man. You can pay me 260,000 drachma, and I'll take that.
At
Jeez.
Manchester City. So
you can't. The Romanian, I think it's Romanian before the Euro.
Is it comparable to a Schrootbuck?
Schrootbuck? Maybe.
5,000.
I'll take that.
I'll take 5,000 Schrootbucks.
Yes.
What about a Stanley Nickel? The
same ratio
What is-
as to unicorn.
same as rainbows to unicorns. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, we're talking about The Office, and with that, The Office is on Netflix. So, what's in your Netflix queue? What are you watching after football is over? What are the things that you're keeping an eye on? What are the shows that you're into? My Netflix queue is empty. Give me some suggestions, George. What?
Well, I saw Avengers: Infinity War like 10 times.
Yeah, but you and Mike, same thing.
Yeah, I saw that like 10 times.
Mike just watches the scene when Thor enters all the time.
I like the Explained series.
Okay.
I like that one. That's a very good one. And there's a new one called Losers.
Yeah.
And they talk about some.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
You seen that one? Yeah.
I haven't seen the show, but I've seen the trailer.
The trailer is pretty good. I've gone a couple episodes. There's one with a boxer who didn't want to be a boxer and he became heavyweight champion of the world, and then he got knocked out and now he's an actor. And then there's another one of Torquay United. A small club in England, Southern England. And Torquay, yeah. So that was pretty interesting. So I like that series, those two.
Okay.
And then Avengers: Infinity War. Again.
See, the problem with Netflix is The Office. Because every time I turn on Netflix and The Office is there, it's like a 20, 40-minute episode, depending on what season
you could
you're
watch
in.
something new, but you could watch
But you could watch The Office, too.
But the Explained of cricket is awesome. As someone who didn't know anything about cricket, was completely confused about cricket, the Explained episode of cricket is fabulous.
One of my early days in terms of being in international soccer was doing cricket.
Oh, really?
It is a fascinating sport.
Woo.
Leg before wicket, out for a duck, hit for 6. I love that stuff. Cricket is a fantastic,
Cricket?
fantastic
Oh, man.
sport. A fantastic sport. Well, I'm not getting a lot of replies to people watching what they're watching in the Netflix queue. So, do I need to refresh?
Yeah, maybe
I need
let's
to
see.
refresh. Oh, Punisher. Yeah. Actually, you know what? I am interested in
But
that.
now cancel Punisher.
Yeah.
Oh, is that Punisher the guy that
got
was
canceled.
Shane from
Yeah,
Walking
from
Dead?
Walking Dead.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
okay. I might have to see that.
Punisher, Peaky Blinders. You know what? I'm already through Peaky Blinders. Fantastic show. Love Peaky Blinders. Mindhunter. You know what? I watched that first episode and it kind of freaked me out, but maybe I go back there.
Yeah.
Maybe I can go back there.
Bird
Punisher,
Box. If you need
Punisher
to fall
for sure.
asleep.
I've seen Bird Box.
Yeah,
I've
if
seen
you want to
Bird
go to
Box.
sleep, that's the
Wasn't
one.
that bad.
I've seen Daredevil. Daredevil 2,
Daredevil?
fantastic. Unfortunate that they canceled that. Hopefully they bring that back as a movie or something because it was fantastic. You know, it's Game of Thrones. You see, this is I'm trying to get through Game of Thrones to get caught up. I mean, I'm not one of those people who's never seen it. Of course, I've seen it before, lots of it. And but now
Game
I'm
of
just trying
Thrones
to watch
isn't
it
on
again.
Netflix though.
Umbrella Academy, okay. La Liga Loco is watching that. 4, Greater Than Everyone Else. You know we need Mike to make an appearance on the screen. Would love to see the work behind the scenes. Well done, Mike. No, you don't want Mike in front
No,
of you.
he's not that attractive.
Did my mom say that? Is that my mom?
No.
No, it wasn't your mom. No, it wasn't your mom. Okay, Mike's telling us that we have to go. He's got a little whiteboard and he's telling us we got to
Yeah.
go. So, okay, I'm hosting the Extra tonight. Kevin Egan is away, so I'll be with the Extra tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Me and Thomas Rogan, I believe.
Roganada.
Crazy Tommy's
Yes.
going to join me. Should be a lot of fun as we'll recap all the stuff we talked about today, plus a little bit more. We'll also hear stuff from France. Locker Room is also coming up at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time with Kay Murray. You on Locker Room
Yeah,
today?
I'm on Locker Room today, so
Okay.
I'm gonna stir things up.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one
Yeah.
tonight. There's no shortage of things to talk about in the locker room.
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah, and of course, we've got games coming up this afternoon. Game canceled from the Copa Libertadores last night, postponed, is going to be airing this afternoon. Deportivo Lara of Venezuela taking on Emelec. Power outages throughout Venezuela with that horrible situation, but that game is being broadcast this afternoon, so be sure to join us for that. That'll do it for this edition of Sports Burst. We're back on Monday. Have yourselves a great weekend. Thanks for your interaction, everybody. Good chatting with you. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Happy International Women's Day.
House Targaryen.